In 1981, amidst a time when muscle cars were mere shadows of their former glory, Don Yenko, a name synonymous with high performance, made one last bold statement. Using the struggling Camaro Z28 as his canvas, Yenko injected new life into the era with a turbocharged marvel that defied expectations. Unlike the anemic horsepower numbers most cars offered back then, the Yenko Turbo Z packed an innovative turbo system that made it a true standout. Only 19 were ever built, with just 3 featuring rare Stage 2 upgrades. This ultra-limited production car became a hidden legend among automotive enthusiasts. What made the 1981 Yenko Turbo Z such a rare gem? And why is it still captivating gearheads today? The story of the 1981 Yenko Turbo Z begins with Don Yenko, a man whose passion for performance cars changed the muscle car scene. Don Yenko wasn't just a dealership owner, he was an innovator who made waves by turning standard Chevrolets into high-powered legends. It all started in the late 1960s, when Chevy's Camaro was popular but limited. General Motors had a strict policy that capped engine size at 400 cubic inches. This rule put the Camaro at a disadvantage compared to its competition. For example, the Plymouth Barracuda didn't have such limits and could fit larger, more powerful engines. Yenko wasn't one to play by the rules when it came to performance. He found a way to get around GM's restrictions by ordering Camaros with 396 cubic inch engines and swapping them for the more powerful 427 cubic inch engines from Corvettes. This bold move gave birth to the first Yenko Super Camaros. These weren't just modified Camaros with extra parts, they were complete transformations that turned heads with their 425 horsepower engines and race-ready setups. The 1967 Yenko Camaro was the start, showing muscle car fans that the Camaro could be more than what GM initially intended. Yenko kept pushing forward. By 1968, he was making improvements, such as adding a 140 mph speedometer and unique trim tags to set his cars apart. In 1969, Yenko worked directly with Chevrolet using the COPO, which is the Central Office Production Order System. This allowed Chevy to build Camaros with L72 engines already installed, making Yenko's job easier and faster. These 1969 models were famous for their power disc brakes, cowl induction hoods, spoilers, and reinforced components. They became legendary and were loved by muscle car enthusiasts everywhere. But the glory days, they didn't last. The late 1970s and early 1980s brought changes that hit muscle cars hard. New emissions regulations, the push for better fuel efficiency, and higher gas prices made it tough for high-performance cars to keep up. Engines had lower compression, which reduced power, and horsepower ratings plummeted. For car lovers, it was sad to see the mighty muscle cars of the 60s turn into weaker versions of their former selves. The 1981 Camaro Z28 is a perfect example of this. Even the best version of this car, with a 350 cubic inch V8 engine, only produced 173 horsepower. To put that into perspective, that's less than half the power of Yenko's 1969 Camaro, and for a car weighing around 3,500 pounds, it wasn't exciting at all. Don Yenko wasn't ready to watch muscle cars fade into history without a fight. He wanted to bring back some of the excitement, but he needed to do it within the new rules of emissions and fuel efficiency. That's when the idea for the 1981 Yenko Turbo Z was born. Yenko turned to turbocharging as a way to boost power without breaking emissions regulations. He'd worked with turbo technology before on his Stinger II Vega in the early 70s, so this wasn't new territory for him. This time, he partnered with Turbo International to create a turbo system that was unique. Unlike typical turbo systems that used wastegates, which could lead to lag or even fail, Yenko's system minimized turbo lag, providing a smoother, faster response. This was a smart move at a time when car makers were struggling to offer real performance. Under the hood, the 1981 Yenko Turbo Z kept the standard 350 cubic inch V8 engine, but it was far from ordinary. Yenko's modifications included a Rochester Quadrajet carburetor and a turbocharger from Turbo International. The turbo pushed 7 pounds of boost into the engine, boosting its power output to an estimated 240 to 250 horsepower. This was a huge improvement over the stock Z28's 173 horsepower and made the Turbo Z a standout performer in an era where American cars were struggling. To help explain just how significant this was, let's compare it to another car of the same period, the 1980 Pontiac Trans Am with its turbocharged 301 cubic inch V8. Despite its turbo setup, it only managed to produce 207 horsepower. The Turbo Z, with its 350 engine and Yenko's enhancements, easily outperformed it. Yenko's car proved that with the right engineering, you could still achieve impressive power, even under the strict rules of the 1980s. One of the most interesting parts of the Turbo Z was its innovative engineering. Yenko added a fuel heating system and water injection, both of which were used to improve fuel efficiency and throttle response. These clever additions made the Turbo Z more efficient and responsive than other cars of its time. The results were noticeable. In tests, the Turbo Z could cover a quarter mile in 14.51 seconds, which was impressive when you consider how far horsepower had fallen since the late 60s. The standard Z28, by comparison, wasn't even close to that performance. For those who wanted even more, Yenko offered the Turbo Z in 2 stages. The Stage 1 was powerful with the basic turbo setup, but the Stage 2 was something special. Only 3 Stage 2 models were ever made, making them some of the rarest Camaros out there. These models included upgrades like Coney shocks for better handling, Gullstrand polyurethane brushings for a stronger suspension, and custom-weld 2-piece wheels. Inside, the Stage 2 featured luxurious comp leather seats and a race-mark steering wheel. This wasn't just a car that looked good, it was built to handle corners and perform on the track. These upgrades made the Stage 2 Turbo Z handle better than most muscle cars of its time. With its reinforced chassis and advanced suspension, it could take on curves and corners with ease. While other manufacturers focused on flashy looks and vinyl decals to give the impression of speed, Yenko focused on real performance. This attention to detail set the Turbo Z apart from its competitors and showed that muscle cars could still be exciting, even in a restrictive era. Despite all of its impressive features and the Yenko name, the Turbo Z struggled to find buyers. The biggest reason was the price. The Stage 1 model cost $11,000 and the Stage 2 was priced at $17,500. In today's money, that's roughly $35,000 for the Stage 1 and $56,000 for the Stage 2. Compared to other Camaros and performance cars at the time, these were steep prices, and many buyers simply couldn't justify spending that much. This limited the Turbo Z's production to just 19 units, making it one of the rarest Camaros ever built, with only 3 of those being Stage 2 models. The 1981 Yenko Turbo Z marked the end of an era. It was the last major project Yenko worked on before selling the dealership in 1982. This car was a final salute to the high-performance Camaros that began in the late 1960s. Although it didn't reach the legendary status of the 427 powered models, the Turbo Z proved that Yenko's spirit of innovation was alive and well. It showed that with the right approach, even the challenges of emissions regulations and fuel efficiency could be overcome. Finding a Yenko Turbo Z today is like finding a piece of muscle car history. One example, with just 38,869 miles, recently appeared at an auction, complete with its original build sheet and COPO certificate. The estimated value ranged from $60,000 to $80,000, showing just how respected these cars remain. The 1981 Yenko Turbo Z may not have had the brute force of its 60s predecessors, but it was a testament to Don Yenko's ability to adapt and innovate. He found a way to bring real performance to a time when most muscle cars had lost their bite. The Turbo Z stands as proof that the muscle car spirit could still survive, even in the face of tough new standards. If you enjoyed learning about this rare slice of automotive history, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and drop a comment below on which car we should deep dive into next.